if you want to become a millionaire with XRP. Exactly how much XRP do you need? Now, I think it's fair to assume that about the 1% or so of the world would be millionaires. I think in a lot of different places, the percentages are very, vastly different. But I'd say just counting it as about 1% of the population or so, yeah, I think that's pretty fair. And so before we move on, guys, make sure you press that like button because I'm about to show you guys some really funny things while also talking just about how much I think XRP you need to get to your goal, to retire with it, or all that type of stuff. And I mean, as a basis, I think that the people in crypto are already a very special few percent. So we can call it like a 10%, maybe a 5, maybe just a 1% already that are into crypto, that are, deep into crypto, so to speak. And so whenever we're talking about holding percentages, etc., it kind of becomes skewed because we could easily grab, for example, the XRP rich list with the percentages of how much XRP what percentage has. For example, the top 10% have about 3,500 XRP or more. Meaning if you right now got yourself about $3,000 worth of XRP, which again, not so long ago used to only be about, $1,500, you belong in the top 10%. And there's a theory where because crypto is already the new 1% anyway, that you don't even need to be in the top 10% really to be that realistic next 1% of millionaires, etc. However, if we were to just grab it from a perspective of, okay, if you're in the top 1% of the world, that usually is millionaires, and you're also in the top 1% of XRP, well, you need yourself 70,000 XRP, which right now has turned into a significant amount, but the 0.1% is about 460,000 XRP, and the 0.01 XRP is only 470 accounts, which does include exchanges, etc. So in theory, it could be that there's more than just 470 people because, Binance, for example, might only have a couple accounts, but might have 1 million people holding XRP. So these numbers are a little bit skewed, but you get the idea of about 6.2 million XRP to be in that 0.01%. Now again, I'd state that personally thinking about 10% of the top is already pretty damn solid, meaning at about 3,500 XRP or so. But that 1%, at 70 or actually 69.999 XRP, that's that real top at the top, huh? Just for fun, we could also check this out. Here's the number of accounts and some of the balance range, with exactly how much XRP is in how many wallets. So as you can see, there's about 130,000 wallets with between 5 and 10,000 XRP. And then at the end here is the cumulative. But still, if you start to think about it in terms of actual people, I know these are accounts, and so the amount of people does not fully apply. As you can see, there's only 4 accounts with more than 1 billion, and a lot of them between 500 million and 1 billion. A lot of these are exchange accounts and potentially some Ripple accounts as well, if they've not been excluded here. But if we just wanted to be in that range of, less than 100,000 or so, I'd say we need more than 50,000 XRP because then you'd fall within this bracket. I didn't do the calculations perfectly, but I'd say this is about 65 or so thousand that are within 75 or 50,000 XRP or more. So perhaps I guess if you've got about 30,000 XRP, you're within the top 100,000 accounts. But then again, by just having any XRP at all, you're still in that top 4.7 million, as that's the total that we've got in terms of accounts, which again, in the grand scheme of things, is actually not that many people if you really start to think about it, right? I mean, I've seen some arguments quite recently that the XRP price can never do so well due to inflation. Let's actually take a look. The Wolf of Poloniak shared, XRP army be like, this time it's different. Remember to tell yourselves that when Ripple Foundation dumps hundreds of millions of tokens on you in 2 weeks, there's a reason XRP has never and will never break into a new all-time high. It's called inflation. Google it. 2 things to say. 1, well, XRP probably didn't break an all-time high because of the SEC pressure and lawsuit, which we can theorize about for longer as to why that happened. But Moon Lambo had this to say, feel free to save this for future dunking, sorry. Drinking, why did I say that? XRP will never hit a new all-time high, he says. I guess it's been hanging around in the top 10 cryptos market cap for a decade now because reasons. His tweet will age like fine milk. And now before I do move on again, because I've got some juicy things to say about that, I will tell you guys all, if you're looking to trade or if you're a trader, make sure you check out this link down below for BitGet. It's a crypto exchange I use a lot to trade on. And right now you can get yourself quite a couple of cool little goodies, which are basically spins on this spin wheel for absolutely free, but just doing the different tasks that they've got right here. Or if you're a person that's not in the US, but in a region where you can properly KYC for almost any exchange, like Europe or whatever, make sure you check out Bybit, as again, you will need to verify your identity, but you can get yourself an 1125 USD position to trade XRP with for absolutely free. But yeah, for that, there will also be a link down below. And now let us dive right back into what I was talking about. Like I was saying, there's a lot of people trying to portray XRP as so inflationary that the price can never, in any way, shape, or form, go up. And I like to say, well, Bitcoin is inflationary too, up to a certain point. It just depends on your perspective, because these cryptocurrencies have a max, right? Whereas a lot of other cryptos out there, a lot of these proof of stake cryptos, they don't. So in theory, those can just continue to go down forever as more and more coins come into circulation. With XRP, there will never be more than 100 billion. So, and more gets burned every single day. Not that much, but more gets burned. And so as the utility increases, yeah, you might say, well, Ripple brings more and more XRP to the markets. I see that as indeed inflation for the time being, but eventually it comes to a halt. And in theory, it could be burned, but it's right now being used mostly for ecosystem development. So you're using that XRP to make sure that XRP, in my opinion, right, becomes worth more, and that there's more utility and more things around in the ecosystem. But at the end of the day, there's still a maximum. And from that perspective, we talked about this before. I am not the guy to give you guys these calculations of, okay, 100 billion XRP divided by 7 billion people, 8 billion people right now means you got 12.5 XRP per person. So if you got more than 12.5 XRP, you're in a good position. And so if you're 1% of the world, you got to divide that by, or times that by 100, meaning if you got 1,200 XRP, boom, you're about to go crazy. Which I could, because it does make a little bit of sense, right? The similar thing applies to Bitcoin, where right now we've got 21 million in total Bitcoin, and we're at 19 point some. Yeah, we're slowly but surely climbing up, and so it's inflationary, but that does not mean there's not eventually a cap and that the price cannot rise, because Bitcoin also hit an all-time high, right? But also, I've been tackling a lot of these questions of people asking, okay, Dusty, but so a lot of utility is increasing. Well, that is going to increase the volume. For example, even if FedNow were to come, that would just bring volume, but not really price. And a lot of people brought this up. Saul, for example, said, it turns out that Diggeratis was right, his gas token theory. XRP is simply the gas token on the XRP ledger, nothing more, nothing less. This was presented as part of a negative outlook on price, but I see it in the opposite light. Somebody asked, hey, explain more. Well, that XRP is just a gas token on the XRP ledger. And because the XRP ledger is so efficient, volume on the network doesn't really need to impact price as much as many people think. And that has to do with the fact that if you got more and more volume, right, a lot of people expect the price to go up because of increased utility, which is logical. But also sometimes people say, well, because there's so much money that has to be sold and bought, that the price might move, become volatile because of it. But with the way in which the XP ledger was designed, that's not the case. And for the most part, there could be so much that I guess comes up on the XRP ledger, yet to to transact all that, you don't actually need the XP price to go up. But, and this is the very big but, we all like that. David Swartz says that is absolutely true, but that something doesn't need to happen doesn't mean it won't happen. And the way I read into this is referring back to what David Swartz said a lot. Let me actually grab a bookmark for you it's from David Swartz a while back, which is the idea that to make the XP ledger function as best as possible, a higher XP price would be very freaking nice. So a $10,000 XRP would in every way, shape, or form make its system more efficient than a $1 XRP or a 1 cent XRP. Because if you want to transfer $10 billion, $10 trillion, which again, if we look at Ripple's numbers and what they're planning to do, it's going to be absolutely insane. The amount of numbers that they're going to be bringing around. In this value report quite recently, they explained to us some numbers. And if I just think about the fact that so many of these guys are going to be moving into crypto, a lot can be going on for XRP. Anyway, but you can see it right here, right, as a basis. A higher price for XRP would help Ripple in several ways. And this is September of 2017. I've got it bookmarked because it's that important. And this is two most important parts. One is this means, again, that Ripple will probably not act in the worst interest for XRP in the price because it's just better for the system that Ripple is building a lot on. Their ODL solution, at the end of the day, you want the price to be impacted the least by these major transactions because that way you can do more of them. And so we talked before about how the XP ledger ledger is most likely going to be the most voluminous, whatever the name for that is, chain. And here's, for example, a little hype piece by Leonidas. He basically found a glitch where XRP showed to have the #1 volume on CoinMarketCap, $22 billion for a little second. It then went back to only 3.7 or something like that. But we also saw that XRP had the highest volume over the last week. And it's just a simple matter of logic. A cryptocurrency platform that's been in the top 10 consistently has now got proper clarity and is starting to work with these major banks that we all know of. It's just very illogical for this system to not get just tons of volume and potentially the most volume out of the entire crypto system. So for the price to move less because of massive transactions, which is what we want, you'd want a higher price so that if you want to move $1 trillion worth of value, first of all, it's even possible. And second of all, that it will move the price less. So you wouldn't get a disruption in the system every single time. Which again, if there were an infinite amount of coins, wouldn't be that much of an issue. But since it's capped and there's only 100 billion of these tokens, yeah, that might become eventually a little bit of an issue. But on the opposite side as well, as people start to speculate and these major players enter the game, yeah, a lot of these guys are going to be seeing XRP as a nice thing to hold because of the liquidity, because you can easily move it around the world, easily sell it everywhere because of the roads that Ripple has built. And for that reason, I guess also the interoperability of being able to use it everywhere in every way, shape, or form. But also because potentially, if they want to be able to sell, $100 billion in a snap, a lot of other assets couldn't handle that. But with XRP, with the amount of volume that they've got, and hopefully the price being at that point as well, it just might be a little bit easier to get that going. Anyway, this whole theory about a higher XRP price, I think is always interesting. I always refer back to this one. Just pause it for a second, and I'd say read it for yourself if you want to get your mind blown for just a second. It's nothing revolutionary in terms of thoughts. But at the bottom here, you can see when Bitcoin sold for $1, you couldn't really use them to buy or sell a house. You can now. Bigger transactions require bigger value. The higher the price of XRP, the larger payments Ripple can target. And so, from my own perspective, the higher the XRP price goes, the more partnerships that will also be brought on and the more money that will be brought in. Which is also why it makes sense for Ripple or other parties to keep the XRP price down right now, because otherwise Ripple might be growing too fast too quickly. I think I'll talk about that later, but there's a lot of theories out there as well that potentially Ripple was being sued or being, kept in a little bit of a loop to get FedNow out there that basically copied a lot of what Ripple's was doing, or even for Swift's new services, etc. A lot of them are copying a lot of what Ripple has built for the last decade or so, but they had to get themselves a little bit of a US advantage by potentially getting XRP/Ripple shut down for a bit. Otherwise, they would get too much of a market share already. But just for a reminder's sake here, there's also one fun thing that's been circulating over the last day or so. They are correct. Bitcoin will never reach $20 again. This is why I have liquidated my position in Bitcoins. This is 2011. There is very little upside going forward. No forward moves of late have any traction whatsoever. Any demand continues to lag. Way too little upside for such a risky proposition, so my advice is to move into dollars. Only a significant change in the economy could alter this forecast. And this idea is what a lot of people say about XRP as well. And my response to it is, just think about this in a 5-year future perspective. I mean, the last 5 years, you can't kind of see in that similar field because of the lawsuit. But I guess the same thing could have been applied to Bitcoin. If you looked at this in any 1 year and then you add 5 years to it, your mind would have been completely blown. Your mind would have been completely changed. And even with XRP for the short term, it's most people 5 years ago didn't expect XRP to be the first with clarity. And probably most of the partnership that they'll be getting, a lot of people aren't even thinking of right now. I just think you can't fathom properly just how huge it's going to get. And then referring back to what I said at the start, I think as well, for this millionaire term, it just kind of depends. Do you want to become a millionaire in dollars terms? Well, but what if the dollar goes to absolute garbage like it's doing right now? Is the biggest flex then to be an XRP millionaire in terms denominated as dollars? Well, I guess that would only be nice if XRP didn't do a full-on takeover of the financial system. Otherwise, the dollar value doesn't matter as much. But also, if you start thinking about it, all the prices that we mentioned, even guys like BitBoy mentioned, $35 if an IPO comes, yada, yada, yada. These are all based on the principles of price. And this is really important, guys. These are all based on the principles of price that we have known historically. But the funniest fact about things are, and this, listen carefully here, and make sure you press that like button. If we've got technology that's about to change the entire financial system, do you think you can value it with these old models? How do you price a new financial system? How do you price the gas token for a new financial system? How do you play with all these parts? It's extremely difficult because it's emerging tech that we couldn't fathom just a couple years ago. Now with Ripple, again, they've been building for a while, but still, to have them to this degree in a system, it's something people couldn't have fathomed before. And so a question arises, how much really is that worth? It's nearly impossible to say. To which my answer is always, I think most people that are heavily into the system right now are such early adopters of an entire new genre that most people will do extremely well. Then again, that is on the basis that we just consider millionaires to be just the top 1%. And right now, I mean, top 1% of XRP is still a significant amount. But as I said before, top 1% of the world, a lot of them aren't into crypto. And so a smaller percentage, let's just call it in this case 10% of XRP holders, a higher percentage in terms of nominals, but smaller percentage in terms of, actually doesn't matter. You guys understand the drift here. Let's just call it 10% of the XRP holders. Within, again, the top 4% of the world that are actually into crypto right now, let's just call it that. Might be higher, might be lower. That's about 0.4%, just to give an idea. Yeah, I mean, you might even want to narrow it down again to only the people in XRP out of crypto, which would be even lower then, because there's only like 4.7 million accounts right now. But yeah, if you really start thinking about it like that, you're pretty special. And not special ed type of special. I'm talking you're pretty freaking special to be on this opportunity so soon. Especially considering from the perspective that Ripple's doing so much in the CBDC space and it's only just emerging. It's not even there. And crypto also. It's big, but it's not really. I mean, spot ETFs aren't even there. And then again, which other crypto is going to be next? It could very well be XRP because it's got the only clarity out there. It's the only crypto with clarity. It keeps making me think, like, what's about to happen in the next couple of years? It's so hard to predict. But one thing I know is if we just keep buying properly, is my opinion on the matter. I don't think anybody can go wrong here. And so whether or not being a millionaire really matters, it just depends on how our financial system looks like in a couple of years from now. If you really want to become a millionaire quick, and we just estimate XRP is going to go to $10, well, then you need 100,000 XRP. But then again, it comes to your valuation of things, How quick do you want something? How high do you think it can go? Do I think it can go to $30 per XRP? Sure, it makes a lot of sense. But how long will it take? Well, it depends on so many factors, it's hard to say. But then from that perspective, you only need 33,000 XRP. Do I think a $50 XRP is definitely possible in our lifetimes? Well, sure. Same thing for $100 per XRP. I think it's possible. But the immediate road doesn't lead us there just quite yet. There are many bumps in the road still need to happen first before we can even start speculating about those numbers. I'd say the most important part to conquer right now is $1. After that is the all-time high, and after that is the $10 mark. That's my thought process. After that, we can start thinking about, okay, what if the IPO comes? What if this? What if that? Most importantly, when are they going to let loose of all these leashes that are keeping XRP at bay right now? But yeah, that's about it. Guys, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you put the notification bell on because some crazy video is about to be dropped in a couple of hours again. And that's about it. See you guys later. Another one, and stay classy out there, guys.